For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And now, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Sunday afternoon is here, but it's still time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast coming up for you, as always, catching you up on the Auburn news and Auburn potpourri. We're going to do a big update for you on Auburn's spring sports that are getting rolling and some exciting updates there. And the big baseball preview has arrived with the season just around the corner. All that's coming up on 161 right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family. The easier way to say it, though, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing in episode 161 of the Auburn Experience podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kyle Loomis. Alongside me on Big Game Sunday, so we don't get in legal trouble, apparently, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, War Eagle Kyle, and hope everyone's doing well on Big Game Sunday. And obviously, we're getting ready for Big Game tonight as well, as we come to you a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
Most of you will still listen to this at the exact same time and have no idea what we're talking about, but every year we typically try and do this a little earlier, so our ratings don't affect the Super Bowl. We don't want the takeaway from anything on NBC, so we decided to throw them a bone and not do our show tonight.
I'm gonna probably make a poor decision here, even bringing this up, because it just opens up a whole plethora of things. We could have gone on at a certain aspect.
Oh, no.
And given an alternate option for people. You want me to throw that out there?
No, I don't.
But we are live much earlier. We do this every single year because we know that as much as y'all love the Auburn Experience live recordings, we are in no competition with the commercials, much less anything else.
That's right.
One year we need to come up with like a Auburn Super Bowl commercial. By the way, I will tell you this. Do you remember the old commercials?
Can we afford that?
Well, no, but since when have we done anything we can't afford? So do you remember the commercials where it was like the War Eagle moments? Or I'm trying to remember that. It was more than just like War Eagle moments, but it was like black and white, and it had people having these special moments in awkward situations. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? That was was that a Sports Center thing?
No, I think that was a halftime commercial one year, and it was like the one I distinctly remember is it was rainy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an aerial view, top-down view footage, bird's eye view footage of a bunch of black umbrellas.
And there was also
there's an orange and blue umbrella comes into frame, and you have they bump into each other, and they're wearing Auburn hats, and they say, "Hey, War Eagle."
But there was also that string of commercials Auburn put out of War Eagle moments, and sometimes with like Auburn celebrities and stuff, but people just having those in the airport and things like that. So here's the funny story. Obviously, maybe some of you heard me talk about this before. I used to be very involved with the Auburn BCM. I was a resident there and all that kind of stuff. And we had a lot of fun other than, the important things that we got involved with there. One year, some of our guys came up with that War Eagle commercial thing, and it had them both rushing into the bathroom, and all you see is their feet beneath the stalls and having a War Eagle moment handshake moment underneath the stall. So that's what our Super Bowl commercial should be, something like that. Maybe a little bit less gross or something like that. But you never know what might pop into my head, and we might try something next year. So let's open right there, because it is Big Game Sunday. Super Bowl.
Big Game Sunday.
There goes first check to whoever I have to write for saying Super Bowl.
Oh boy.
I know that you and I are more interested in other things outside of maybe necessarily the game. I'm assuming you're going to watch it tonight, right?
I will be watching the game in between commercials. Yes.
In between commercials and stuff like that. But we are invested in the success of our former Auburn players. And as we've been chronicling for you throughout the playoffs, you had plenty of choices. And when we got to the AFC and NFC championships, you had plenty of options. Every team was going to have, we were going to have an Auburn Super Bowl, one against the other, or several against the one. Carlton Davis on the New England Patriots, Derek Hall, and blanking right now on the other one on top of my head.
Derek Hall, Nico Thorpe,
Nico Thorpe,
Nehemiah Pritchett,
yes,
and Josh Bynes.
So Thorpe and Bynes are coaches, and the other two are players. So, and I've also said this to you guys previously, one has won a Super Bowl already with Carlton Davis.
That's right.
So you do with that information with what you want, Austin, but I'm asking you, who is the next Super Bowl Auburn champion? Or do we have new ones, or do we have a double up for Carlton Davis?
Like a triple up, right? Or no, he's just won one before. Right?
I think it's the one.
Just one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think that's where
he was only there for one. Well, the Bucks only won one, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's this. I think it'll be our new crop especially with our rookie Super Bowl champion Derek Hall. Right, this is his first year. Yes,
this will be his first one. Yeah.
So I think he'll get a rookie Super Bowl ring tonight. I think the Seahawks are pretty good. And I don't, I think a lot of us still have the feelings of like, the Patriots from winning so many, even though it's a totally new looking group, right? And I actually think they're even a little bit more likable than the old regime, but they still got the name and the logo, and it's kind of like, oh, we already did this. And granted, so did the Seahawks. I think they were in it twice or three times when I was in college. So, but I think, I think they'll end up being the Seahawks, and the gains outweigh the losses. Sorry, Carlton, and we get 4 more Super Bowl champs for the Auburn Tigers instead of just the one.
I love your prediction. So we'll see, when this clip is seen by folks later on, whether we were right or not.
That's right.
I want those four individuals, the 2 coaches and the 2 players, to be Super Bowl champions. I think it's going to be Carlton Davis. I think he's going to get a second Super Bowl ring. I'm not rooting against Carlton, but I'm just not rooting for that to happen. But also, hey, look, if we both say the same thing all the time, let's be honest, it's kind of boring. So I'll just say,
you're right. So thanks for giving me that.
I'll go Carlton Davis. You get the other guys, and I'm kind of rooting for you to win. And let's see who ends up being right. Other stuff from this week, Austin. Before we get into potpourri, and we don't have time to get into all of this, but I love coming to campus. I was there this weekend. Got to see you.
We saw each other. That's right.
At gymnastics, at the basketball game lines, and we'll talk about that coming up here shortly a little bit. But I will give a shout out to another little business that I tried for the very first time.
Oh yeah, I am very interested to hear about this.
Okay, all right. So I was asking a lot of people, where should I go eat in Auburn? Something new, got a lot of options and things like that. And of course, I was fighting the urge to go to some of the old faithful ones. I did go to Mama G's on lunch. Don't worry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I did. But as I was walking downtown, going to one option, it was too busy. And then I was going to go to this new thing. I passed by this little thing about halfway down downtown on the side of Toomers. And I looked up and I said, that looks like a bunch of macaroni. There's a place called Roni's downtown, which is basically make your own macaroni and cheese bowl. And it was like calling to me and said, please come in and have a steaming bowl of cheesiness and enjoy the heck out of it. And I did. Loved it. So
what'd you get?
I got a standard, cheddar mac and cheese bowl because I didn't want to go too crazy or anything like that. But then I realized you get toppings with it.
Yeah, you can go crazy. Yeah,
you can. So I got grilled chicken. You can get a protein with it. I got the peppers with it, like the little diced up peppers.
Bell peppers.
Diced up bell peppers and corn in it as well. And my goodness.
Interesting.
It was, I know it was a little bit odd, but I was like, hey, it's coming with this thing. So I want something like that. There's plenty of other options on there too.
Yeah.
Ton of carbs.
And there's sauces. No sauce for you though?
Sauces, I think I drizzled there, or had them I didn't drizzle anything, had them put on top whatever was like kind of their signature. It was some kind, I think it was like a Parmesan drizzle thing, but it was absolutely outstanding. If you have not tried it, this is a little bit endorsement for them, free advertising for you guys. So Austin, I'm putting it on your radar as a resident. You need to get over there right now.
I love it. I have looked at the menu many times, and so that's why I knew about the drizzles and and some of the options. I've looked at it many times, and we just haven't gone. You actually came up at lunch today, and we talked about the Ronies and how you went. And then we were sitting here looking at our two toddlers, and we were like, "There's nothing more in this world these kids love than mac and cheese. Why have we not gone?"
Exactly.
So we're going to go soon. Maybe it's a family Valentine's outing. Emily's downstairs watching. She'll either confirm that or deny that. But maybe it's Valentine's next week. But I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I have seen it. It's been on the downtown strip here now for a while, and they seem to be doing well. So I'm glad to hear that it was actually really good. And I will give you my full review once I hit it up.
It's good stuff here. And I like the options. You can get grilled cheeses there as well, I think. So they've got, it's more than just a macaroni and cheese bowl thing, but certainly lots of cheese, lots of pasta, lots of carbs. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're hoofing it around campus all day on game days and stuff. So
yeah,
that might be a new go-to place for me. And of course that'll plummet my health a little bit, but hey, we do it in service of the Auburn stuff.
Well, we do it in service, and it's something different downtown, and something tells me, because I believe I saw lately they're open late at night now, and something tells me lots of carbs can be good late at night. So good for them.
Yes, another option for those of you that find yourselves out late in downtown Auburn, whatever it is you're doing downtown.
Whatever it is you're doing, whether you're hopping from establishments or evangelizing on the corner, we'll say that.
I was about to say, evangelizing is certainly a choice there, but there's a little bit of that attempting going on from time to time.
Something like that.
We are like trying so hard to dig a hole right here. I started this off commenting about the halftime show.
She's an icon. You got to bring her up.
Yes. So I'm gonna stop the backhoe right now and move on in Auburn.
Well, please move us off of this polarizing topic to our first topic of potpourri.
Yes. Oh my goodness. First of all, we have got a show for you all. This is essentially gonna be two potpourri segments, but this is the catch-all that we typically do. And yes, you brought it up. One polarizing topic to another. Here's the ironic thing about this, Austin. It's not as polarizing, at least that it looks like it used to be back in the day. I know. Hold on. You and I have a lot to say. And it's been interesting to watch the reactions to this news, the news that we're talking about that is tertiarily related to Auburn, because he's no longer part of Auburn other than coming back to live here, I would assume. Coach Gus Malzahn is officially retired from the game of football per his own announcement. He steps down as the offensive coordinator at Florida State. He got one last crack in at Alabama, and boy, was it a good one. And that's just been the story of the man that was the one person that could pretty consistently, comparatively to others, take down Alabama no matter where he was, and find success. An innovator of the game and former head coach of Auburn football. Some would say it didn't have to be this way and still should be that, but I digress. Maybe we only would have gotten 5 more years out of him at this rate. Let's open it up here, Austin. A lot to say here. Maybe just start with your, I'm assuming you have well wishes towards Coach Malzahn and all that.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you've listened or watched this show very long, you're pretty aware that Kyle and I are very fond of Coach Malzahn as a person, as a coach, and as everything he was able to do while he represented Auburn here and did so very well. He and his wife, I should add, and certainly am very grateful for their time here. And I think I can speak for Kyle and just say strongly disagreed with when that time ended. I think
you put it so much more professionally than I do.
That's what I'm here for. And so I think I'm obviously sad in a sense to see that Gus will no longer be, someone I can also tune into during college football Saturdays and have a rooting interest for. But certainly I think he has his priorities much aligned, and it's time to hang it up and time to, as he said, be a grandfather, be a husband again, be dad. and I think he certainly will do a great job at that. So best of wishes to him. Very excited to see and have him back home on the plains, and they will be back in town, and I'm sure frequent the lake a lot too. Obviously, I think it's been mentioned plenty of times, families around here in Birmingham too, and so we're very excited to see him back around town again. I hope that he continues to feel the warmth of the Auburn spirit while he's back in the county.
If you ever want to take a shot at Auburn, there are a bunch of ways you could do it, but I think there's no better proof that Auburn is a wonderful place, sports or not, than fired head coaches choosing to come back frequently, if not keep a permanent residence there. And that's, I mean, I don't know that they've officially confirmed that that's what's going to happen, but they have a lake house, which is not far away and all that kind of stuff. So as you said, it seems they're going to be.
I believe he confirmed it in an interview I watched with On3. But they do have a house and a lake house still around, so they'll be here. And I'm really excited to hopefully get to see him around town and hopefully back at some sporting events and things. I would say all but one fired head coach I think is still around town.
I didn't say all. Did I say all? If I said that, I misspoke.
I think you just said fired head coaches, but one's a little bit more north still, I think.
We see a lot of our fired head coaches, and the most recent one as well. I mean, I know it's the recency bias, but I get the sense that their family is going to be sticking around for a while because they love the community as much as the community wasn't nice to them at the end there. But anyway, look, I love Gus Malzahn to death. This is not a shock for any of you all that have heard me rant about this. I will continue to say until things get better, it didn't have to be this way. And you can all get mad at me all you want, but the facts are in. It did not have to be this way. That's not a reflection of the current head coach, and not even a reflection on the coaches themselves. It's a reflection on not the symptoms that people want to talk about, but the disease. And the disease was to get rid of Coach Malzahn, especially when you did not have a appropriate quick candidate that was ready to take on what is SEC football. And fortunately that was not Brian Harsin at that time. But that's another rabbit hole we can go down another time again, if we choose to do so. But I think Auburn is better with Coach Malzahn in its vicinity, whether that is as a head coach, as a community member, just being involved with the university, the people. Auburn can do a lot worse than Gus Malzahn. And I would say they can't do much better either. I think we had a chance for a very special, I want to say reincarnation is not something that we believe in here, but if you just wanted to take that idea of recreating something that happened with Shug Jordan and longevity and specialness and someone that you revere in your history, we pushed that to the side. And that's very unfortunate to me. But I just need to let that part of it go here.
Well, I think you raise a good point, because, I mean, we've been tooting that horn for a while, and this is not, I'm not here to pull receipts. We thought about it, but I'm not here to pull receipts and talk about it. That's something that Kyle and I have said for a long time. And I'm fine with the little jabs, and we get some fun love from the comments and things like that on Still Loving Gus. But supposedly a lot of you feel this way now that he's retired, and would like to see a little bit more reverence of Gus, specifically from the Auburn Athletics. But I echo everything, and this, that you've said. I think that I to a point, to a theory, I understand the process of potentially. I can get to where I could see someone convince themselves that back in 2020 Auburn could take a step forward by firing Gus. I can see where some people could lead themselves to believe that. I don't necessarily agree with it. I didn't then. I don't necessarily now, but I could see where some people could say there's a chance for us to get better here, to ironically use a phrase. Now, them nor us knew the portal and NIL was going to ramp up like it did. However, that, like you alluded to, the plan and execution to make that happen was poor at best, and it flopped immensely. And I think that's why you find Auburn here on the third coach again, and there's ironic, the third coach again since that time. So, but to my point, we've certainly had plenty of people who seem to remember Gus fondly now that he's retired.
Yeah. And, it's kind of funny that comment about something not related pop in. Those would be the same people that when coaches win the national championship or something like that, they don't have to face the consequences of things like that. Folks, the things that you say, I mean, just realize how stupid you look sometimes. Sorry, that's just me popping off here. That person can't see anymore. He's gone. But look, you don't have to like Gus Malzahn. I talked to some people that I consider very good friends and followers here, and they vehemently disagree with me on this. And we have respectful disagreements on that. But unfortunately, the facts are in. That was the incorrect decision because it's gotten worse since that. And unfortunately, yes, you didn't know that NIL, that stuff was coming. But hey, that's kind of maybe the reason you should not be looking too far that the grass is greener on the other side and just kind of being happy with context. That's why we always talk about context and emotions here. If you go off of emotions, we don't want mediocrity. You made a decision that brought you even more mediocrity. I wouldn't even say mediocrity.
No, I wouldn't say,
below
I'd say
mediocrity.
Worse. Yes.
So anyway, we don't need to belabor the point here. The point is he is retired. We're thankful for his time here at Auburn. Thankful that in some ways his time here at Auburn continues. And I hope that it becomes a special relationship that he can find even after the fact of him being let go here at Auburn back several years ago, which feels even longer at this point. But anyway, we wanted to talk about that to start off the show at the very least. Separate topics here in Auburn Potpourri. This has been a big week on the national stage for a lot of athletes, but obviously that's centralized around the Winter Olympics. And once again, Auburn finds itself front and center on the national stage of lots of sports and, professional sports, but on the biggest stages in the Olympics. We've done, the Summer Olympics segments on this thing, but even the Winter Olympics, even though this person we're going to talk about is not competing or did not compete in the Winter Olympics, you will know the name Kirsty Coventry, one of Auburn's most revered athletes that they have had here, women's swimming and Olympic champion. One of the best out there. Not only did we celebrate when she became the IOC chairman, and I think that's her official title, basically the head over everything for the Olympics. But she also won this week the McCaffrey Award, or was nominated for it. The person that's been so influential post, being an athlete there. And on top of that, and this is because she's the chairman, she opened up the Winter Olympics. So
That's right.
Auburn full board is on display in the national stage, international stage for Olympics again, this time the Winter Olympics. And I love seeing her out there getting some shout outs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, of course, this is the Winter Olympics, and Kirsty Coventry won, she was a swimmer, and you don't do that in the Winter Olympics. But I think that we talked about it when she became IOC president, and we'll talk about now that she certainly has all the accolades deserving of leading up the Olympic Committee by her success in the Olympics, and now opens her first game. So very cool to see, even if, just our corner of the little Auburn family knows it, that Auburn is well represented on the international stage, and look forward to seeing how she does in this Olympics and moving forward. So very exciting for her. And I'm ready. Let's build her and Rowdy a statue right next to each other outside that swim and dive complex.
I would love it. We've had this debate when we should have the conversation about next statues and who should they be.
But this is one of those after Auburn things that we always bring up. It's a footnote you can't ignore.
No, I think there are some great examples. She's one of them. When you're talking about, Mount Rushmore statue situations of Auburn entities out there, she is at the top of the list of those names that you mentioned in her sport, but just across what their influence has been outside of them being directly related with Auburn. It's kind of the reason I get asked all the time, who do you think Auburn's most important alumni is? I would say Charles Barkley. I don't think he's the greatest athlete that's Auburn ever had, but I would say his influence and what he accomplished in the professional stage and how he still, brings up Auburn, comes back to Auburn. I say the same. I don't know when the last time Kirsty Coventry was here, but she talks about Auburn. I've seen quotes of that and stuff like that. So big shout out to her. Love seeing our Auburn people on the international stage, and pretty cool. So if only they had a frozen swimming, So I know she's not competing anymore, but I mean,
yeah.
I wonder how good she would be. Sorry, that was a dad joke that just went right over the top there.
Yeah, it's okay.
My jokes are pretty frozen, I guess. I don't know. There's another bad one. All right. Let's talk about basketball. We're not doing a full basketball segment this week because, frankly, ladies had a pretty rough week. But that's to be expected in the gauntlet that is SEC women's basketball. The men had an up and down week. It was, while one, exciting because of having a whole week off, no game, midweek game, the excitement building up in Jungle Village. They did the camp out again this year. I don't know if they'll do it again, but at least they did it for this one, appropriately so. The Iron Bowl of basketball, or as I call it, and it should be called, the Iron Ball. But you choose which one you want to call it, or just call it the Auburn versus Alabama basketball game.
I'm in camp 3. Yeah.
Whatever. Let's talk about Jungle Village first. I obviously spent a lot of time out there. We've got videos out there. Lot has changed since its first iteration, Austin.
Lots.
And no more Woodstock, sheer pandemonium and mayhem out there. A lot more organization, cleaner, but still a lot of fun just to see the students out there having fun. It becomes almost a spectator sport too, because people, our age and beyond are just coming out to see what all the chaos is about. Because it's still controlled chaos out there. People are, they got their tents out there. They've got couches pulled out there. They've got lights strung up across their different sleeping spaces out there. They're doing I literally saw someone reading for their paper or something, like in a chair off to the side away from the chaos this year. People, throwing footballs. There's big screen TV for them. The teams bringing out, different, but lots of teams. Football. I saw volleyball as well, bringing out food for the students, and chili nights as well. So Jungle Village lived up to the hype again, and then some. Go check out our videos that we have out there for you about it. But Austin, I'm glad even through the iterations that it has maintained, and they have found ways to still make it successful.
Yeah, it's certainly controlled chaos now. You and I talked about it in the shadow of it, that it is not what it was. Of course, after last year's discussion on some a little bit wild trampling style things, that it couldn't be what it was anymore. We'd lost that privilege. Still, nonetheless, I think Auburn and the athletic department and the university has done a good job in still allowing it to happen and allowing a way for that excitement to still foster and be implemented. However, it certainly was a lot cleaner. That's the thing I noticed the most. But I think it also turned out to be a really good thing for students to enjoy and still partake in and get a small part of the Auburn experience that a lot of us never got. This was before that happened before me. Every year I end up texting my really good friends from my time at Auburn, and I say, would we have done this? Like, could we have pulled this off? And it's always yes, like we could have definitely done it. But there's also the perspective of the age we are now and being like, there's no way I would do that now. Like I would not get out there for 4 nights and sleep in the cold. But it's one of those things that at their age, it's the perfect time to do it. And it certainly always ends up looking like a lot of fun.
I certainly felt that being out there covering it as late as I was. And I think back to the first time this ever happened. I went out there, I had a lot more energy, and that was only like 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So it's starting to wear down, but I have a good time watching it and just, learning how Auburn has learned. And as we brought up some of the things that happened last year, a lot of you were really quick to jump on Auburn. I told you they will respond and they will get this right. And they have, and they've done that. So credit to all involved in that. I think they do an outstanding job of trying to capture the excitement, the energy of this without trampling it completely, but there have to be guardrails for that. So successful Jungle Village, successful hype for this game overall. The problem is the results of the game. And certainly you wonder, if you're a student, was it worth it? I think they would probably say, the majority who are well-rounded would say, yeah, we have a lot of fun doing this, connecting. But certainly if we could walk away with a win over our arch rival after we camped out so long and froze our tails off a little bit, would have been nice. Auburn does fall to Alabama at home in the Iron Bowl of basketball, first one of this season thus far. Auburn had the lead for majority of the game. And then Alabama did what Alabama does. They make a lot of 3-pointers. I think it was 52% on the evening for them. If you make 52% of your 3-pointers and you shoot a lot of those, like you're shooting a lot and you're making 50% of them, I don't care if you're playing at home or away, you're going to find some way to keep yourself in the basketball game. We break down this stuff all the time on the post-game shows about some of the statistics and what it tells us, the stories within the game. I kept going through it, Austin, and I said, you look at this team stat, Auburn should have won the game. Auburn should have won the game. And what's the answer here? And you could say their defense. I think even Coach Pearl talked about that a little bit, was a little bit lacking at times. But they still did a lot of the things necessary to especially take care of at home, use that home court advantage. But you got to give Alabama credit. They knocked down their shots when they had to and found a way to win that game. Very frustrating elements there, though, always losing to Alabama.
Always, and very frustrating. But I think, you hit on a lot of it. It's a team that shoots 38 threes a game. Auburn kept them under that number, well under that number, but they still hit over 50% of them, and just some that happened at really, really inopportune times. You look at Auburn up 10 late in the first half, ends up getting it. Alabama ends up hitting 3 over the last 90 seconds, 2 minutes essentially, to end up making it just like a 4-point lead at half, I think.
That's what it was.
And it felt right there like a big momentum shift. And Stephen Pearl talked about postgame that he broke down each of the times Auburn gave up those, because 2 of them were wide open. Auburn gave up each of them, and he broke down exactly how it happened. He didn't place blame, didn't say that he credited Alabama for making the shots, but didn't even credit them for the a great play drawn up. Auburn defensively did not do what they were supposed to do in all 3 scenarios, and he gave you the exact criteria on how they were supposed to do it and didn't. I empathize and resonate with Stephen Pearl saying 92 points at home should win you the game, and I totally agree with that. And I don't think there was. I want to make all the free throws. This is not a good free throw shooting team. Just frankly, they missed. They made the majority of them. They missed 5, I think, in the whole contest. Obviously, I think they should make all of them, and I think, but even still, I don't think the offense and the shooting was the problem here. It's a defensive missing assignments or not being fully locked in or missing certain components of the game, and I think that's where it ended up falling. Now, I think Alabama's an incredible offensive team, and that's unfortunate and really stinks to say. But Auburn did what they were supposed to do from an offensive standpoint. They could not hold up on the defensive side, and it ultimately ended up costing them the game.
And, there's a lot of elements to this one with Aiden Holloway. Certainly that's a stinger right there, having him be effective enough in this game, although I saw a lot of his bad habits that he had here, which, kind of still makes that not as sting as bad. LeBaron Philon was a commit for Auburn at once, the Charles Bediako thing. You can have 1,000 different ways to really have this one stick really out as one that makes you upset as an Auburn basketball fan. But as I've said throughout the season, folks, if you are once again overreacting off of one loss and you haven't looked at the full context of the season, this is still Auburn basketball, in my opinion, is still a good basketball team with the potential to be even better if they can play consistently well on defense and if they can get their shooting a little bit stronger, especially from 3-point. I think that right there has been really missing for a while. But it was nice to see Tahad, although I think we've talked about some of the defensive miscues, and I think he was responsible for some of those. A lot of people criticize what's going on with Tahad. Why isn't he scoring well very consistently, but especially not at home? He did that. He showed up and showed out, so you got to give the man a little bit of credit too as well with his game there. But no matter how you slice it, it's a loss. We move on. We'll get another crack at him in Coleman Coliseum, that disgusting airplane hangar of a arena that they try to play basketball in from time to time. All right, we're going into another basically edition of Auburn Potpourri, but this is going to be a spring sports update with a bunch of different little things here, because there was a lot of exciting stuff. And so we're going to try to hit these all as quickly as we can and effectively as we can for you all this evening. Let's start off at the top with softball. What was interesting about this was the up and down roller coaster nature of this week, because there was a big disappointment to start off the week. And then there was a lot of highs with them participating in the leadoff classic in Clearwater, Florida, as we talked about on our preview for them. The disappointment, they were run ruled by North Florida 3-11 in their first game of the year. I saw that, Austin, and I said, oh no. So
Yeah.
you don't want to overreact, but you're like, it's one thing to get beat, because like we even saw today, I think it was Southeast Louisiana beat somebody really highly ranked today, which is, I mean, Southeast Louisiana, from what I remember, has been okay in women's softball, but that's still someone knocking off a major team right there. But to get run ruled, that's pretty bad. I was worried. I'll be honest with you. Any opinions about that, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, it definitely was not. They got beat Oregon State. I knew I'd seen that too. But the to start off the year when there was a lot of optimism, kind of on building for year two, that was a little bit of a setback, and certainly one I don't think anybody expected. But like you said, a bounce back quickly, but certainly one that kind of, and maybe it's a one that gets everybody on track real quick and gets everybody thinking, okay, we're not scrimmaging, we're not playing against each other, we are these one count. And so and credit to North Florida, they were obviously ready and excited to host Auburn coming in, but Auburn certainly did not kind of start the season exactly the way they wanted, at least in the first game.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, but once again, what we always talk about here, it's not your mistakes, it's how you respond to your mistakes. And boy, did they respond. They went on to face a very challenging field at the leadoff classic. First up, Notre Dame. They win 5-4. Great bounce back right there. Next up, in the same day, they take on Michigan State. They beat them 9-6. So you've not, I think, taken away the sting quite yet, but that's a great response in day two of competition, just on your stretch here, but first day of this tournament. Then the next day, they go on, take on number 9 Clemson and win 10-5. Number 9 Clemson, Auburn takes them down.
Yes.
We can't escape them in softball.
They showed and this is where I out myself here, I guess. They showed the highlight of the home run against Clemson during the basketball game in the arena on Saturday. And I knew the opponents this weekend. I just couldn't remember who was what day, but I looked up and I saw them hit the home run. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's Clemson. Like
every time.
Today of all days during this game, we're playing Clemson, but good to see that they came out on top.
They did take a loss to Pittsburgh, who's unranked. Extra innings, 11-12, and they had a big roaring comeback to make that almost won that one. And then they finished out today versus Penn State 4-3. So a lot of close games for Auburn in this one. No one really, I mean, well, the Clemson game, the ranked opponent, they doubled up them, and or not double, they did 10-5. Yeah, I guess that.
You're right. Good math. That's doubled up, buddy. You got it.
Math is so hard. I think this was a great result of this classic overall for Auburn. I don't think we technically predicted it, but I had a feeling we would lose 2 in this one. You lost 1 and you took down a ranked opponent, and you didn't erase that sting of that first one, but boy, it's a great response.
I don't remember exactly the outcomes and the opponents last year, but this feels similar. And this time last year, after the Clearwater tournament, we were sitting here saying, look at this team, like they're coming back from behind, showing a lot of resolve, knocking off big time teams. So I think when you look at both of them, you say they're doing pretty well, especially given, of course, the North Florida game is not what anybody wants, but they end up resolving in a big way, and now get to host some other more Power 5 teams this week just one Power 5 team at the Invitational. With Illinois coming in at J.B. Moore Field, and so softball's back on the Plains officially this upcoming week.
Man, it's the Auburn roller coaster ride that it is, and
sure
softball lived it out this first week of competition. But congrats to them for a great leadoff classic, which brings us to probably one of the more exciting things of this week, because everyone was reporting on it and talking about it, which tells you something when some of the major news groups out there are starting to actually talk about it a little bit. Men's golf, certainly I'm wearing my shirt today, supporting both golf
I
programs.
noticed.
Look, we knew Jackson Coyven and this program were solid. You know, he was part of the championship year as a true freshman, won the Ben Hogan Award, and could have had an argument for it last year, came in second or third, one of the two. I think it was probably second. And then you knew he was going to be one of the favorites, could have gone pro, chose to come back. All those storylines are there. You got a lot of the people that have been in the program, part of the championship team, whatever. Josiah Gilbert, Pope had a great tournament, which we're about to talk about as well, came on strong at the end for Auburn. Auburn overall ends up winning the Mir Ari Invitational, which is, I feel like they go to every year out in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I would sign up.
At some point, Kyle's going to take us.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? It'd be
Sure
really
would.
nice. Travel with Coach Kleinert and all
Think
of
of
them
the
out
kids,
there.
Kyle. Think of the kids.
I'm thinking of the kids, but I'm also thinking about their college funds that would be depleted if I did that. So, but they had an amazing day for the team out there at the Mir Ari Invitational. Not only do they win it, what was it like 77?
Yeah, 77
under, which is like some type of program record or something.
It's an NCAA record, I believe.
NCAA, I meant NCAA record. So certainly you're powered by
record tying.
You're powered by Jackson Coyven here. More on him in a second, but I mean, this is the beginning of their spring cycle here, leading up to everything. Another great start, and so they've set the bar for the expectations leading into the end of spring season really high already. It's pretty good.
And they always do. It's one of those cases where it's like one of the star athletes. The things they're doing are incredible, but they do it so often that it gets lost in the shuffle because, like, of course they are. So they have to keep doing things that have never been done to keep us all entertained. And that's what Auburn men's golf continues to do. They tie an NCAA record by shooting 77 under. And even Jackson Coyven sets a record with beating Tiger Woods. Even if you know nothing about golf, you know who Tiger Woods is, and he beats a record of Tiger Woods through the first, I think it was 36 holes, and shoots 20 under. Just unbelievable. There's a reason that it was a big decision that Jackson Coyven, and this is not the Jackson Coyven section, it's the Auburn men's golf section, but there's a reason it was a big decision that he decided not to go on the PGA Tour and come back to Auburn. And I think you're seeing what he brings now as the leader of this group, which is crazy to think about. That he was just the freshman phenom just a little while ago. Now anchors the leadership of this group, who are a bunch of other talented golfers, and do something crazy in their first tournament of the year, like an NCAA tying record. So it's very exciting. Very pumped to see how they continue to build on it, and it certainly looks like it's going to be another strong year for Auburn men's golf.
Just to reiterate what you said, it is through 36 holes, Tiger Woods record that was broken for going 18 under back to the Pac-12 championship in 1996 or something like that. Maybe it was even before.
30 years ago.
30 years ago, and he went 18 under. Coyven went 20 under. And, you know, obviously it doesn't have to be the same tournament or anything like that, but just breaking a Tiger Woods record. And certainly Tiger wasn't at the heights. He was obviously in college at that point, but it's Tiger Woods. Come on. I mean, so there's been feelings about we may be looking at a special program person, like, you know, when we talk about the people that define your programs, I think a lot of that's being lumped on him at his very early age, and rightfully so. And I think he's only building that right now. But as you said, this isn't just the Jackson Coyven show. You got to give it to Pope, who came on strong, especially towards the end there. I think he ended up second in the individual, with Coyven winning it. And I think it was Texas who came like roaring on round 2 to try to catch up to him, and they all together just like blew him away. Yeah. So strong start. Expectations are high, and they already were, but now they're even higher. We'll see what they continue to do throughout the rest of the spring season for men's golf. Women's tennis. I know a lot of you are going to continue to roll your eyes at me. I'm going to stand here firm, preaching that you all need to be checking into this women's tennis team. They are right now, as we speak, in the middle of ITA indoor championships, which is just one of these tournaments that they have in the middle of their season, part of the indoor cycle of their spring seasons while it's still cold outside. They came in as a number 1 seed overall. And there was another 1 seed on the other side as well. That's already knocked out. You can go and find the bracket if you'd like to look at it, but they are already 2 rounds into this 16 team tournament. Auburn beat Northwestern as a 1 seed to start off with, and then took down NC State. And so now they are slated in the semifinals to take on Georgia.
Of
So
course.
a little bit of rival. If it ain't Clemson, it's Georgia.
That's right.
So, on the other side, there's been a little bit of chaos as Ohio State and A&M as some not low seeds, but lower than 1 or 2 have made it to the semifinals. So you have a high chance for Auburn will face a rival next to get to the championship game. But they are the lone standing high seed here with Georgia was the 2 seed actually, though. If I look at that, yes. So you got a 1 in a. This could make the argument that Auburn's and Georgia is the championship game because it's the 1 and 2, but we'll get to the finals and then make that. I just want to reiterate this, folks. There's been a lot of talk about this women's tennis team this year. This is another example of that. They've got a shot to win this thing. They're doing well already. They've done well this week. They took down Michigan at their place. Had an odd scratch of like Oklahoma State couldn't compete with them or something like that. And I think they were just intimidated. I don't know.
Don't understand that at all.
But they were like in this tournament too, from what I understand. So that's just wild. Either way, I'm hogging the limelight here. Anything to add to the women's tennis performance so far?
No. Who'd you say was Texas A&M and Ohio State?
Yeah.
No, I mean I think that'll all be tomorrow. Auburn's at 3:30 tomorrow, and then Tuesday would be the championship match. Yep. So certainly be tuned in. I'm not sure if you can watch. I didn't see that anywhere. I'm sure there is a streaming option, but Auburn's Women's Tennis on Twitter will have all the updates for you, I'm sure. But it's a big week for them, and they've had a successful year so far, very successful, and they're not getting a lot of credit for it. So I look forward to seeing what they do this week, and maybe it'll be one of those moments the Auburn family comes to celebrate a little bit, something they normally don't together.
You couple with the way men's golf is going right now and you couple this together with that, a lot of hype around baseball. This is going to be an exciting spring season for Auburn fans to tune into to a lot of different things, not just one thing, not 2 things, but several things. And who knows who else might surprise us in the spring season. We're going to do a little bit of workshopping here on the fly, Austin. Do you want to spend the time with the rest of what we had in that group, or would you rather move on to our other main topic given our time right now?
I think it's probably best we go ahead and move on.
Okay.
Certainly there's still some fun things to talk about. But I think there's an opportunity to talk about some other things that we have listed there in future weeks.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a football topics there, but they're not pertinent to have to talk about them right now. So we'll try to get those in next week for you guys, which brings us to our final topic of the evening. We did softball last week. It is time for our official 2026. I should have worn a baseball shirt for this.
No. You did the right thing.
Golf team.
I know, and I had this, and I did it for our session, so you did the right thing.
Okay. Thank you. I feel better now. But Auburn baseball preview time. It is exciting time of year. A lot of hype building around this team. So what we have in store for you in our preview is as follows, much similar to softball. We're going to talk about, as we sit right here, season expectations, given all the hype around it, players to know. We'll take a look at how the schedule walks out, not in great detail. We've done some of that for you already when those schedules came out. If you want further detail on that, and then final predictions, we'll go on the record for that. So let's start with season expectations for Auburn baseball. Let me just throw this at you, Austin, to start off with. Consensus top 10 team, as high as 5, as low as 9. I don't think they even got, I think that ninth is the lowest.
9th is as far as I saw.
In all the major publications, some of those are Baseball America, USA Today, I think, or something of that nature, D1 Baseball, all this stuff. So there is a lot of expectations and hype around this team. Couple that, Austin, with they do all of these preseason polls and preseason rankings that Auburn is expected to finish 5th in the SEC based off of.
Crazy.
Isn't that so? You could first say, well, that just sounds wrong, right? Did someone just no? But then you realize we're talking about baseball and it's SEC baseball. And then you realize, oh yeah, it's a gauntlet every single year.
You actually feel pretty good about 5th.
So that's wild that you can be a consensus top 10 expected team in preseason polls and still predicted to finish 5th in the SEC. So it's not that Auburn isn't a great team, but they are just going to be up against a they got a climb to make here, as everybody does in the
Yeah.
ACC. So you couple that with all of the players we're going to talk about in a second, the excitement of that. You lost some key players. Obviously, Ike Irish isn't here anymore. Everything together, the emotion, the context, Austin, what would you say your season expectations are right now, or what are reasonable for Auburn fans to have?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, and we've talked about it before, the youth on this team from last year has got an off season under their belt. They're sophomores now. They have been through the SEC and done quite well. They have tasted what NCAA postseason is like. They have hosted a super regional at Plainsman Park. This team is now a year older at a lot of key positions and is very talented. So it doesn't surprise me their consensus top 10. If I know that, and I certainly don't know a lot, then a lot of people across the country who follow college baseball knows plenty more. And the fact that they're ranking this team that high tells you that this team has expectations that has been put on it, some by themselves, some by others, to far surpass what they did last year. I've seen plenty. We talk about rankings. I've seen plenty of projected Omaha fields already that include Auburn. This team is expected to take another step. And I certainly think they can when you look at the players we're going to talk about here in a minute, on top of transfers they've added, new freshmen as well. The expectations are sky high for this Auburn team from the Auburn family and beyond. And I think it's deservedly so.
Yeah, I think they are creeping up there with each passing day as we approach the season. I'm getting a lot of people asking my opinions of that. That's why we're doing this preview today. I've taken, as I think fans should, time to take in all the information, because these preseason polls and stuff sometimes don't line up with what actually happens in reality. But I can see why the hype is building right here. I think the expectation is that you go to the tournament. I think the expectation is Auburn should be in a good position to host a lot of years. And so when you have some of these preseason expectations, host an NCAA tournament first round at least, supers is a new thing. We'll get to our predictions in just a little bit, but I think that's kind of where you start with this team, still young, still youth. So I think that's where I'm going to work from. It's kind of like when we talk about basketball, when Bruce was here, obviously new era for them, but you expect Auburn to get to the Sweet 16 when Bruce was here. I would expect with Butch, the talent, that you are in the tournament and probably hosting at this point in the first round. That's where I'm working from. We'll see if I change my mind throughout our preview here. Players to know. We'll give you a bunch, actually. And I think maybe even Austin has some opinions of ones I'm missing here. But I think the three, given some of the polls and lists that they've made that you need to know on the offensive side of things, and defensive as fielders, Chris Rembert is number one. That is getting all the hype, all the love. He is our second baseman. And then you've got Chase Fralick, catcher, who will be fully now in that helm with Ike now gone. Now, Ike obviously played a lot more not catcher last year, but he still did that from time to time. And then Bub Terrell out in the outfield, who I think is one of the hearts and minds of a lot of the Auburn faithful, with his just fun lovingness. So I think those three at the start, Austin, are the three that Auburn fans need to be aware of. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at last year, there were a plethora of freshmen that jumped on the scene. Those three especially, obviously are they weren't in the rotation or they're position players. And so they were in the lineup or making plays regularly, and took everybody by surprise by how young they were. So I think that those are the three a lot of people are focused on. But I think definitely that they're expected to take a big jump this year, and I think they all will. I'm really excited to watch the progression of those three and how we've spent a season in a D1 college strength and conditioning program, knowing what they know about SEC baseball and trying to get better. I think they're going to do phenomenal. But certainly there's even more on here. Do you want to keep going on this list? Go
ahead. If there's anybody else you want to bring up, this is the players they need.
Well, I think just one you don't have on here, and it's nothing that you shouldn't have added, but I think
I failed. One, fine. That's what you said. I failed.
I just think one that's being overlooked by a lot of people, and probably because it's a transfer, is Todd Clay from UAB. We talked about Todd Clay when he committed to Auburn, because he certainly put on a show for UAB by beating Auburn at Plainsman Park with a couple homers to his name. He's now on the good guys, and I just think that's one we're going to be talking about a lot once we start to see the games being played, I think he's got really big talent, has added a lot of pop to the lineup through fall ball and through the games they've gotten to play, and from what we're hearing about practice. So the infield, not rotation, what's my word? The infield
starting
lineup, I guess. Yes. I feel like I'm not giving the right verbiage, but the infield starting lineup there, I feel like has just continued to get better even though you've lost some big guys in like Cooper McMurray, and guys who we've seen there for a long time. But I think Todd Clay's one that people are going to be talking about here really soon and throughout Auburn season.
Yeah, there's plenty of other names on here. You got Bristol Carter that a lot of people are going to be familiar with as well. Plenty of others that Auburn had. And what is it with Auburn going and finding these players that hurt them the previous season and bring them in? I mean, it feels like that happens all the time.
If you saw it, then you know what they can do. And you might as well have them suit up for you than do it again.
Exactly. All I've seen on the starting lineup for baseball is a bunch of opinions, and I don't know if this is going to hold true. It seems like lately Auburn locks into 2 guys for their starting pitcher lineup, with hopefully finding someone in the midweek and usually a younger guy to hold that position down. The names I keep seeing pop up in a lot of these articles: Drew Whalen, Christian Chatterton, obviously of last year, and Jake Marciana are the 2 that I see popping up there. Certainly there are others as well. Any thoughts on that as maybe your potential looking for starting pitchers?
Well, I think, too, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Griffin Graves in there.
That's another one.
Certainly, he won a lot of people over during the Coastal Series, came in and provided a big relief, but went a lot of innings. And so, I think the rotation is one that always for Auburn, whether it be due to injuries or due to guys who just maybe aren't performing how you thought they would, I think you're going to see it change and move a few times as it gets going, especially in this early non-conference where it's not as perfectly midweek on Tuesday, SEC series Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Sure.
I think it'll be set once you get to that. I think that, Connor Gatwood, the redshirt freshman from down the Mobile area, is obviously very talented and very was looked at to be last year as a very big get for Auburn as a freshman to come in. I could see him working his way in there, but it'll ebb and flow, and it'll be one of those things that pitching is just not something I get concerned about with Butch Thompson and with Everett Tieford at the helm. I know a lot of you still have some trauma from 2 years ago, which was the anomaly.
It was an anomaly.
But this team will be just fine from pitching and have a plethora of talented arms to choose from. Just got to find out where they all fit in the team.
Alvarez, another pitcher to keep in mind.
Certainly.
He had some shining moments last year. Hetzler, obviously coming out of the pen mostly, is another one. I don't know if there's been a closer named or anything like that, but I wonder if that's one of sorts that would maybe fit into either a setup man or something like that. He
ended up almost taking it over last year at times, just with kind of how that position changed a little bit. So I could certainly see him as the favorite for it. But that's another thing. You got to figure out where these guys succeed in certain situations, and some of that you just can't do until you're playing another team that isn't wearing your colors.
Yes, absolutely. And one name I want to mention, if he can stay healthy, Eric Guevara.
Huge.
If he can stay healthy, and you couple him with some of these other big names that people are talking about, your Rembrandts, your Frelichs, your Bub Terrells, Auburn's got a special group here. The question is,
excited.
Are they ready, as young as they still are, even with a lot of them in year 2, to seize upon those expectations and make this season their own? Only time will tell, but those are some names for you to know. So that brings us to the schedule here. As a quick breakdown, we've done longer breakdowns with them in previous episodes. You can check out our segments on YouTube, but you will have a total of 24 non-conference games to start off the year, and then obviously midweek games throughout there. Just as a quick overview, 3-game series with Youngstown State, Nebraska, and Winthrop, all at home. You are going to the Amagi
starting this week.
Yes. You're going to the 2026 Amagi Bank Baseball Series, taking on Kansas State, FSU, and Louisville, which will probably be where we really get a good look about against strong competition.
It's where we did last year,
and made some noise there as well. Midweeks will be regional. Georgia Tech twice, as always, which I love to see. So we talk about it a lot, Austin. you can win or lose your season in these non-conference games, especially the midweek ones. I'm not asking for a record prediction just yet, but just anything you want to point out here in this non-conference?
Well, you're right. The headliner is the baseball series that's in Houston this year. Is that right? Or is it
actually
Dallas?
I think it's still Dallas or Fort Worth area. I think that's still where
Okay.
it is.
But I mean, I don't know a lot about Kansas State baseball, truthfully, but Florida State and Louisville are ones that you've definitely heard of, and you see in Omaha or leading up to Omaha all the time. There will be huge tests for Auburn, just like Oregon State was last year. It'll be really fun to get to see if Auburn can answer the bell against those big time names. And then, as I said in our schedule preview back a couple weeks ago, Nebraska being at home is really intriguing to me. To open the year very early, you have a Power 5 team who is another a Big Ten team that has all the resources come to Auburn. You get an early test of where you're at against a team who is going to love the chance to come to Plainsman Park. And then, of course, all the regional games. We talk about the regional games every single year when it comes to baseball. They're teams that Auburn can pick from in the offseason sometimes and get some portal guys from. But they're teams who love to get to play the chance Auburn and Alabama and prove themselves. And they've certainly done it plenty of times. So those are all very important games.
Watch out for those midweek games because they can really hurt you. And they probably hurt you more than they can help you with, UAB knocking off Auburn last year a couple times. And certainly you can find some valuable talent, as we say. But I'm really looking forward to this Georgia Tech. I don't call it a series because it's 2 single games. It's
always
out,
great.
But it's always great, and they're very highly thought of as well this year. So that should be a lot of fun in Auburn and in Atlanta this year. Brings us to SEC, 30 games. 10 series at Missouri versus Texas, at Alabama versus Arkansas versus Kentucky, at Florida versus Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, at Mississippi State, and ending the season in Auburn versus Georgia. That's a lot of Bulldogs at the end of the year. A lot of Bulls, if you ask me. It's a gauntlet, man, and no matter how you slice it, it's going to be tough. Auburn has got to find a way to win the majority of these series, I think, depending on how they do in the non-conference. But what sticks out to you in that particular one?
I think you go to Alabama. Of course, I wish there was a way to make that home and home, but that just wouldn't make sense, would it?
No.
But it is always fun to get every either. But you go to Alabama, and then you have just massive home series with Texas, Arkansas, Georgia. I mean, the others are big too because it's the SEC, but those 3 especially they're going to be probably, if Auburn maintains where it is nationally ranked right now, probably some of the only times that Auburn's playing teams that are higher ranked than them at home, at least. And then the rest are just unbelievable too, where they'll either be equal to or just slightly lesser talent, like Kentucky, Florida, A&M, Mississippi State, just all of it, massive games, all of the ones that you in the SEC, you don't expect to go in and sweep. You just would love to take 2 out of 3. And if you can get the sweep, then hallelujah, praise the Lord. Let's get back home. So for me, it's all about going. If you go 2-1 on all of them, I'm happy as can be. But you got to steal a sweep every now and then at home is to really elevate you once it comes to postseason decision time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of how I approached it when we get to our predictions section. I'm not really thinking of sweeping anybody here. Where is the most likely candidates for Auburn to get series wins? And certainly at home, no matter the competition, you like that with now a full year under the new and revamped Plainsman Park and what that provides in terms of crowds and energy. But you've got to just remember you're taking on Texas, Arkansas, all of these teams in the Mississippi State. It doesn't matter who you talk about. It's good. You got to go to some challenging places, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. Alabama is going to be tough, even though I don't think they're as highly thought of currently as Auburn, but it's just the Iron Bowl of baseball, if you want to call it that. We got to think of a better name for it.
How about we just don't call it the Iron Bowl?
I think we've discussed this. There's ways to make that play off of, like with the Rust Bowl for swimming and diving. Come on. Anyway, this is the baseball segment. I won't get into it tonight, but 10 series, got to win a lot of those to really position yourself well for the tournament, especially with these expectations. And I think Auburn, if those expectations are met, they could make some noise in the SEC this year. Brings us to our final predictions. We are going on the record for Auburn baseball 2026. Let's start with the record, Austin. Would you like to go first, or would you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
I see yours, but I'll go first.
54 games, by the way.
54 games. Yeah. So make sure your math is right. When looking at and I don't know, I'm not going to go game by game for sake
Sure.
of time and because I just don't know. But for the non-conference, I went 19-5. I just feel like you drop one or two in there in that home stretch, just figuring some things out. And then also on the road in somewhere in Texas, we couldn't confirm where, but I think you could drop one of those easily. And then the regional games, like we said, are so important. Jacksonville State, that game, it sticks out last year as a reminder to me in Jacksonville when they were just fired up and beat Auburn up there, and then UAB coming to Plainsman Park, that you just don't know with those regional games, and anything can happen. And it should not be an excuse to not play the in-state teams. It should not be an excuse to not play the in-state teams. But they mean so much, and you can learn so much from them. But I do think Auburn will drop a couple here and there this year. So I got 19-5 in the non-conference,
okay.
5 losses going into SEC play. I think you're fine with that. And then in the SEC play, I think I'm going to go 20-10. That kind of takes it. It's big. It's big, but I'm very high on this team. I'm ready to be hurt. But I've been so high and so excited for Auburn baseball since the ending last year. And I was there in Plainsman Park versus Coastal. I couldn't wait to see this team again. Looking at that math, 20-10 with 10 series, that'd be 2-1 every series. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think Auburn has the chance to sweep. I do think Auburn has a chance to sweep some of these, and then you give yourself some room for possibly going 1-2 on the road at some of the powerhouses. So I'm going 20-10 for a grand total of 39-15, coming oh so close to that magic 40 number. And I think Auburn baseball has a very strong year and looks very good going to the SEC tournament.
You're a little bit more bullish than I thought you were going to be on the team.
We are flip-flopping a little bit this year.
This is a little bit. I was very confident about the non-conference. However, I do expect us to drop 2 of the midweek games that we're not supposed to. It just seems to always happen. Although they did very well last year, and then you're going to lose a game to one of these power programs, probably one in that first baseball series classic.
Certainly.
So I'm saying 20-4 in the non-conference, and I know that's asking a lot, but I want us to set ourselves up well there because what I see in SEC is just a gauntlet, as we always say. 18-12 is what I have there as my record prediction for SEC, which brings me to a total of 38-16. My math is correct for 54 games, unless we left off some games off the total games. That won't struggle as much as I did in softball. So you have 39-15. I have 38-16. We have flip-flopped in baseball and softball, but pretty close there. We're both seeing Auburn really push to that 40 game mark. So if they get to 40 games this year, with all the season hype, there's going to be so much excitement at Plainsman Park, and tickets are going to be hot. So you better get you some tickets right now if you have not done so, because that's our predictions for it on the record. SEC tournament predictions. Auburn has exited early a lot. They did last year. It didn't hurt them because they ended up being positioned well for a super regional, hosting after winning their regional. But for the SEC tournament, would you care to make a offering about what you think they might do?
I'll say they go 2-1, and I say that a little bit maybe too optimistic, just because I don't think Auburn plays well.
So it's quarterfinals, probably.
Well, let's see. Is it all single elim now? I can't remember.
I think it's all single now.
Because 16, correctly. It should be. Yeah. We do weird things sometimes. 16 would get you to 12, or would get you to 8. I think it's
quarterfinals.
And then, I think that's right. So, quarterfinals, 2-1. Auburn just doesn't do very great in Hoover, which is strange, but they typically don't. But I think you're fine with that. That would put Auburn overall in my prediction at 41-16. And 41 on decision day or on selection Sunday would look really good for Auburn. I'd be very happy with that, which is why I'm going to go ahead and say they will be a top 8 national seed and would have the chance to host regionals and super regionals.
Wow. So he just went full board there. Okay. I'll go the same route you did in terms of explaining post what I said for the record. SEC tournament, I think they get the quarterfinals this year. I think they finally find some success in the SEC tournament which would bring 2 more wins for my record, which would bring it up to 40. So 40-17 if you go 2-1 if it's single elimination. So that's a 40 mark right now. Once again, you're just slightly ahead of me in predictions. Host, yes, obviously. And I think that would set you up, as you said, pretty securely for a top 8 seed and hosting super regionals if you win your hosted regional. So we're on the same page, it looks like. Auburn is hosting regionals, hosting super regionals. The big question is, Austin, will they go farther? And submit your final prediction, and how far?
Man, I want this team to go to Omaha so badly. More than anything, just because of how fun it ends up being when Auburn baseball hits Omaha for all of us in the Auburn family to really. I know there's track and field after. Trust me, we do not forget that here. But that kind of closes out the majority of the Auburn family for the athletic season. When Auburn baseball hits Omaha, everyone's tuned in. I think that this team, if they are 41 and 16, then I think that this team will be a top 8 national team, but I think they'll be on the back half of that top 8, which should they host a super, wait a minute. What am I saying? I'll be saying yes. So I think if they host a super, they would be matched up with someone from the lower. Hang on, Austin. How's the bracket work here?
Yes,
I'm
tracking with you, and I think you're correct.
I worry that it's going down the same path possibly as Coastal again, where Auburn could very well end up with someone who was a strong 2, and have them play host again. I would desperately love to see nothing more than Auburn go to Omaha, but I'm not totally sold on it this year, just because of maybe having to get over a mental hump. But I certainly think it's possible. But I do think that as far as predictions go, I think Auburn probably falls heartbroken in Plainsman Park again, hosting a super regional.
It will be exciting to host a super regional again. However, I'm with you on that. I think this time, though, they do get down to game 3 in the super regional, and there's some heartbreaker thing. But I think they're going to get matched up with someone, like you said. It felt when I was walking through this prediction before our show, I was like, I just feel this coming. And I hope we're wrong. I hope we're celebrating in Omaha. I think this team is good enough to do it. But I think we're all a little gun shy after last year and realizing that we ran into a buzzsaw that was Coastal Carolina.
Right. And I like that you predicted them getting to game 3. I do think that, I forget that they didn't make it to game 3 against Coastal because of, the rain delay and I look forward to seeing this team. I think they're going to have a fun year. Gosh, we love Bush Thompson on the show, and I can't wait to see him coaching again.
I will fight you if you have something bad to say about Bush Thompson.
It will be bad. You probably kick me a lot, but I will fight you.
And we mean that figuratively for legal purposes. So we started off the show with a getting in legal trouble. Now we're trying to end it. It's just a great way to book episode 161. There you have it. That is our baseball preview for you all and predictions. We'll see how it works out. Thank you for tuning in to episode 161. As always, we want to encourage you to keep up with us on social media. Direct messages are open pretty much everywhere. Email E2C Network at gmail.com, and that's the best way to get in contact with me. Austin, where can they find you?
Yeah, Austin G. Scott on just about everything. I'm pretty proud of my tribute to Gus Malzahn on X, so go check it out at Austin G. Scott and at Austin G. Scott on Instagram for all my crazy shenanigans. Hope everybody has a great big game tonight, and look forward to hearing your favorite commercial.
I would love to hear that as well. And I will give you the shout out for the Gus Malzahn tribute as well. I think obviously when you get the approval of the wife on that one, not your wife, his wife, Christy Malzahn, shared that one out. Certainly our love for Gus is, it's pretty evident here, and we'll never stop telling you it didn't have to be this way. With that being said, we're out of here. Episode 161. As we go, I remind you, the Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks, I will leave a little bit of room for Q&A. Judging from the sounds of the things in the background.
I was about to say, there are baseball bats right outside the store. Something is happening. So I hope that you didn't pick too much of that up.
That's fine. And listen, hey, you heard something one time on mine a couple episodes ago that was pretty loud, and that was more on that later. More on that later.
That's right. Yeah, I definitely knew sometime in our episode that the nap time was over. As soon as it happened, I thought, oh boy.
Well, all right, sir. Any final thoughts for you before you get out?
I don't think so. Hope everybody has a good night. Great week. Diamond Sports are back on the plains this week. Hope everybody enjoys it.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, sir.
All right, War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, you're stuck with me for a few more minutes here. If you've got any other final questions, comments, topics you want to bring up, I got a couple saved that we'll go through. This is your space to do that. Don't waste it. Utilize it because you got me trapped here for a few more minutes before the big game starts tonight. But first, reminders. We got to go through those and talk about those a little bit for you all. Tentative schedule for the week. It's always tentative because life happens and changes things, but we want to make you aware of when you can watch live streams here on YouTube, Facebook, X. And the next one will be a post-game show, Auburn versus Vanderbilt, the good bounce back opportunity for Auburn and Neville versus Vanderbilt. We don't have to go to that monstrosity of a basketball arena. Thank goodness. That one's going to be this Tuesday and should start at 9:05. Usually is about the time those games get ending. Then after that, Auburn Family Night is back. We're going to talk about it. Lots of things to discuss as always, but you dictate the calls, the questions, the topics. All that is there in our live call-in show, 9 Eastern Time, 8 Central on Wednesday. Invite a friend and come hang out with us. And then another post-game show this next Saturday, Auburn versus Arkansas, round 2. That was one of the big wins for Auburn this year thus far, and they have another opportunity to right the ship this week after a little bit of frustrations. Can they do that? We'll see. It's always tough to win in Bud Walton Arena, but Auburn has done it. What I would probably say a team that maybe wasn't as good as this one. So those are your schedules for the week. Lots of content elsewhere. If there's anything else you would like to bring up, certainly we can do that here. WT says, why does the Auburn Experience look like a baseball card, or is it just my YouTube doing it? So let me clarify that right here for WT, but anybody else, because others have addressed that as well. So the apparatus that we utilize to broadcast this has given us the option recently to have 2 different streams going at the same time, a traditional long view, as most of you consume this, but there's also a vertical one as well. And I believe that is where you are, WT, given an icon next to your name. And I think that's what indicates you're a vertical watcher. So it looks different because that's an option for those of you that like to scroll and find us that way. The one that is the traditional vertical, or the horizontal, will always be the one that is open after this point for people to come back to. But that's really all that's going on there. It's nothing wrong with your screen. It's just the way we set it up with what we do with our new capabilities, because it helps new viewers find us. So that's what's going on right there. WT also said, my expectation is that 99% of what I hear about Auburn baseball will be from E2C, because he doesn't keep up with as much. And I appreciate your honesty, but I think you should be keeping up with it. And I know it's difficult to, but certainly check in as much as you can. This is a team that you want to be paying attention to as much as you possibly can. What else? Yeah, we got rid of this person earlier in the show that didn't know how to call themselves. Somebody said Opelika Living earlier. I guess maybe someone checking in from Opelika over there, but yeah. I do not like the vertical look. This is the first time I've seen it. It looks like this. So yeah, there are 2 live streams going at the same time. Whichever one you find first, I guess, is the one it goes to. But if you look next to the title, there's a little phone icon to indicate that you're coming to that one. Either one's fine. You can watch the show in whichever format. I think we would always push you toward the standard formation, but that is just something that is very advantageous for us to do. So we will have both of those options going forward. And we may change the way the background looks with this option. It's just something we put together to kind of make it match the best we can with what we're currently doing. But as always, thank you for feedback on that particular one. I think we covered, Hunter said this earlier, Kyle, with the Stormtrooper look. I don't know if that's a Stormtrooper look. I had a white cap on, maybe, and if I'd put that helmet back on back there. But no, I mean, it's just repping my Auburn golf shirt, because what a week it was for them. Yeah. All right. So with that in mind, that's the show. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's a different time and we're not catching a lot of our normal audience, but we appreciate those of you that chose to watch this one live. Enjoy the big game. And those of you that found the replay, please come back. We'd love to see you on a Sunday evening again with us at 9 Eastern, 8 Central for live recordings. You can always get the show on your traditional podcast format as well. With that being said, I'll repeat our farewell to you as we always do. The Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same thing. War Eagle.